Dodgers, they need to regroup. The Dodgers are 2-8 in their last 10 games. They lost at Detroit Sunday in the bottom of the ninth. The Dodgers still have a 7-game lead in the NL West over San Diego and Arizona. The Angels are taking a 3-game winning streak into the break. They took 2 or 3 from Seattle, the first place team in the AL West. Bronny James said he's open to playing for the Lakers G League team during the regular season if it gives him more playing time and the chance to improve. In 3 Summer League games with the Lakers rookie team, LeBron's son is shooting only 23% from the floor and is 0 for 12 on three-pointers. The G League assignment is a real possibility for Bronny if new coach J.J. Redick feels he's not ready for significant playing time in the regular season. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is the fastest growing talk radio station in Southern California. Home to 50,000 watts and an audience reach of 12 million listeners. KBLA Talk 1580 is a pioneer for Black audio content, including our groundbreaking $2 million climate justice campaign and the most loyal, influential audience. According to an independent research study by the polling firm Advertisements, for the second consecutive year, KBLA Talk 1580 is the most trustworthy, reliable, and credible news source for Black audiences and beyond in Southern California. Let KBLA Talk 1580 power your advertising dollars. Our omni-channel custom marketing solutions are specifically tailored to connect with your ideal target audience. We leverage audio, podcasts, streaming, digital, social media, and local activations to get your message out to the Black community. Get in touch with our advertising team today at advertising@KBLA1580.com. That's advertising at KBLA1580.com. KBLA 1580. We've got you Black.
We just want to party, just for you. We just want to party, just for you. I don't want to die, just for me. We gotta dance and shake the bread. We just want to party, just for you. We just want to party, just for you. I don't want to die, just for me. We gotta dance and shake the bread. This is America. Don't catch you slipping now.
I'm Tavis Smiley. This indeed is America, and this is a grim moment in America. And what can you say? Except as Black people, certainly we have been through worse, and we will continue to navigate our way through this with hope, if not with optimism. In this hour, as promised, 2 conversations. On the B side of this hour, our friend and brother Wendell Pierce, activist, who will sound off today on what he expects to be a great deal of historical revision at the Republican National Convention this week when it comes to this notion that there's no place in America for political violence. If you believe that, I got some swamp land I want to sell you in downtown L.A. Put down the crack pipe if you believe that. So we're gonna navigate our way through that conversation with Wendell Pierce. Great actor, but also the owner of the Black Talk Station, WBOK, 1230 a.m. in NOLA. So I look forward to talking to Wendell on the B side of this hour. In this first 30 minutes, award-winning Black psychologist, professor, and author Dr. Kevin Coakley will shed some light on the culture-eroding effects of the impostor phenomenon, impostor syndrome, and why it's important to redefine it racially, and its impact on how we see ourselves in the workplace and beyond. I just said to Dr. Coakley privately on the phone a moment ago that I hope he would indulge me for a couple of questions here at the outset, just about the psychology of Black people and how we navigate our way, ourselves historically through dark and grim moments like these. I made the point earlier, and I'm not trying to make him political at all. That's not his role, and I'm not Wendell Pierce, and I will do that on the backside of this. I will do the politics. But this is a moment where the psychology of the nation is being tested. This assassination attempt on Donald Trump this weekend, one can disagree with him vehemently, as I do politically. One cannot want to see him take this moment and try to turn himself into a moral leader. There was a story that Forbes magazine put up over the weekend. I noticed they took it down. They caught a bunch of a bunch of pushback, and they took it down. But they had a story on Forbes magazine's website over the weekend about whether or not Donald Trump surviving being shot would make him more relevant to black voters. Some of y'all may have seen that before they took it down. This is what the good white folk are doing, just completely out of control, raising this question as to whether or not his surviving being shot, like he's 50 Cent or somebody, that would make him more relatable to black people. This is what we're getting from the mainstream media far too often. I digress on that point for now. But whenever there's an attempt, an assassination attempt on a political leader, certainly the president or the former president, it does something, as it did with Lincoln, as it did with Kennedy, does something to the psychology of the nation. And black people are part of the nation. Obviously, we got to navigate our way through this as well. And so it's not so much about Donald Trump as it is about this dark, grim moment that we are navigating our way through. Kevin Coakley, I'm honored to have you on the program. Just say a word to me about how you are processing, how we as black folk ought to be processing, navigating through this dark moment in American history.
Well, first of all, Tavis, thank you very much for having me on your show. You know, black folks have learned for a long time that there's nothing surprising that happens in this country relative to our experiences. We understand that this country was not a country that was created for us. And as accordingly, we have developed a particular psychology that helps us deal with all of the issues and challenges that we face in this country. You know, one of the things that we say as black psychologists is that we tend to have a profound mistrust. We call it cultural mistrust of the institutions and leaders in this country that proclaim to have our best interests, because we know from history that that has never been the case. And so I don't care whether you're talking about Trump, Biden, Republicans, Democrats, black folks have learned that in this country, we have to be profoundly mistrustful and suspicious and skeptical of all things happening in this country as it relates to the impact on our lived experiences as black people.
I wonder what that profound mistrust, what that skepticism, not to be confused with cynicism. I think some of us have moved from skepticism to cynicism. That's another conversation. Skepticism, I believe, is healthy. Cynicism is a little dangerous. But I even believe many of us as black folk have moved now into the cynical category. But I wonder what that sort of perennial mistrust does for our psyche, does to us internally when you live in a nation where you can't trust the systems, the infrastructure that runs things.
Well, you know, part of it is that it unfortunately can result in some of us becoming disengaged from civic life.
Yes.
Because we might feel that why should we vote? Why should we even care? Because it doesn't matter what we do. There's nothing going to change in this profoundly, inherently sort of racist country. And so it's unfortunate that for some of us, there's this civic disengagement that we know goes against the foundation of our experiences in this country, but that's part of what can happen.
Just getting started with Dr. Kevin Coakley. We're going to talk about, as I said a moment ago, this imposter phenomenon and why it's important to redefine it racially. We'll explain it in case you've not heard about it. We'll define it and talk about how we redefine it racially and its impact on how we see ourselves in the workplace and beyond. But I want to just start that conversation, this conversation, with a couple of questions about how we just psychologically push our way through this present moment. It's important to remain sane to the extent we can in these crazy times. More with Dr. Kevin Coakley when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
From Leimert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Help prevent gun violence tragedies. Gun violence restraining orders can help to prevent individuals at risk of harming themselves or others by removing their guns for 21 days up to 5 years. Learn more about how to petition for a GVRO and the role of GVROs in safeguarding communities by visiting lacountygvro.org or by calling 1-833-540-0473. GVROs can save lives.
Many homeowners and businesses use man-made stone as an alternative to traditional stone for their countertops. Handling these products puts workers' lives at risk. Without proper conditions, workers could die from the terminal lung disease silicosis. Employers must supply respiratory protection and water systems. It's essential to wet stone when cutting it to prevent breathing in dust. Do away with dusty, deadly practices. Visit WorksafeWithSilica.org. This is a message from Cal OSHA.
Hey guys, do you want male performance in the bedroom and do you want it now? Get it in 47 seconds or less. For the first time, you can have instant male enhancement. Introducing Knox 47, the topical male enhancement that works in 47 seconds or less. Satisfaction guaranteed. Finally, after years of scientific research, our proprietary formula will allow you to perform in the bedroom like never before. Just imagine that little blue pill on steroids. No reason to settle and wait when you can get instant performance now. Forget about pills and potions that make you wait hours or up to 30 days to work. That's yesterday's news. Knox 47 is brand new. The hottest thing for men. And you don't need a prescription. Call now and get your free supply for a limited time.
To find out how to get Knox 47 for free, call now. 800-617-1621. That's 800-617-1621. Free bottles for limited time. Call 800-617-1621. That's 800-617-1621.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Just some more information. This is one of those shows, one of those days, and going to be one of those weeks, I suspect, where stuff is just moving and breaking rather swiftly. I mentioned this article that Forbes magazine put up and took down, and I'm seeing all kind of people responding to me about that. Now, let me just tell you a bit more about that. Turns out there was a black professor from USC who wrote the piece. So a black professor at USC who wrote that piece about whether or not Donald Trump would now use this as an appeal, the fact that he survived being shot, use this as an appeal to black voters. But apparently, all the online chatter amongst black people was that they were upset with the headline, and many upset with the professor for writing the piece, even putting that in the ether. And so Forbes magazine took it down. But just to be clear, the good white people posted it at Forbes, but a black professor at USC actually wrote it. And so I want to just clarify that for those who are looking for the piece. You can find it. It's out there. I saw it myself. But it just, again, it just raises all kinds of questions about the various ways that the media and various ways that the body politic views black voters. It makes a statement about how Donald Trump views black voters. You recall, and this happens because you recall when Donald Trump took his mugshot. And he made the point that was going to make him more relevant, more relatable to black people because he had a mugshot. And the black folk were loving it and liking it and passing it around on social media. And he made the suggestion that he would get more black votes because of his mugshot. Well, if he felt that way about a mugshot, then you know how he feels about surviving being shot. But again, that says a lot, Dr. Coakley, about the ways in which people view black people.
Well, it absolutely does. And, you took the words out of my mouth because I was going to provide that exact same example. Part of it sort of thinks that, there are certain conversations that as black folks we have in-house, in family, and others that we will have, that we will give, sort of other people the opportunity to hear. I'm not sure that I would have had that conversation as publicly as the black professor did at USC. But I think that the impetus behind it is right on, given the example that you just provided. We know that it is not beyond Trump and his folks to use any and everything to try to, what in their mind, to appeal to black voters. So while I might not have done that, I certainly understand the impetus for posting it. Yep.
I appreciate you responding to that and just working with me again. This news is coming at me fast and furious, as you can imagine today. And every day this week, and for that matter, every day between now and November, I'm just bracing myself. Anything can happen at any point in time, and oftentimes I have guests on who are subject to that breaking news, and so I appreciate your playing ball with me in that way. Let me pivot now. I want to talk to you about in the few minutes that we have here, and then we'll look forward to talking to Wendell Pierce and get back to the politics on the B side of this hour. But this notion of shedding light on the culture eroding effects of the so-called imposter phenomenon, break that down for me and run with it.
Yeah, so this idea of the imposter phenomenon, and first of all, I'll say that most people probably know the term as imposter syndrome. I saw you sort of correct yourself. You initially referred to it as the imposter syndrome. That's the more popular term, but the scientific term is the imposter phenomenon. And
yes.
It's the idea that people who are incredibly academically successful, professionally successful, very smart, that they feel like they are frauds. That in spite of the fact that they have accomplished so much, that they have achieved so much, that they have demonstrated themselves to be very smart and capable, they still believe that they have just fooled people. They have not truly internalized the beliefs of themselves as being very competent and capable. And the idea itself is interesting because it emerged from the work of two white clinical psychologists, Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes, back in 1978, and they were working with primarily white females. And so when I came across the term as a psychologist working primarily with African-American and other minoritized students, I thought to myself, this is interesting. In fact, I thought about my own experience as a black male student trying to negotiate a predominantly white academic space, and I could see how the idea itself resonated with my experiences navigating Wake Forest University. So that's where I first came across the term. But as you sort of alluded to, there have been some challenges with using that term and applying it to the experiences of black folks, because part of what the term does not do explicitly is that it doesn't account for what's happening in the environment that's causing black folks specifically to maybe have some self-doubt about their abilities and achievement and competence. And we know as black folks that what we are experiencing in the environment is all manner of bias and racism and targeted sort of discriminatory experiences that cause many of us to begin to question and doubt ourselves. And so you can't talk about this idea of the imposter phenomenon without accounting for what's occurring in the environment that's making black folks have these self-doubts about themselves.
So tell me then more about what seeds this kind of black self-doubt.
What seeds?
Yeah, what seeds it? Wait, what causes it? The genesis of it, the makings of it. Tell me about that part.
Yeah. So we know that there are things that happen in family environments. We know from research that the sort of messages that folks receive, particularly women, black women, the sort of messages that they receive at home about their abilities and not being validated for their abilities, but being validated for their looks, for their social skills, for things not related to their actual intelligence and competence. So so the family systems, the family origins, that's part of where the development of these imposter feelings come from. We also know that being in environments that are hyper-competitive, very stressful, that those environments sort of breed and perpetuate these feelings of imposterism. If you are someone who has been competent, but you find yourself in an environment where a whole bunch of other people are just as smart, if not smarter and more accomplished than you, that can really sort of contribute to you feeling like an imposter. And then you layer on to that, you find yourself to be a minority or a black person in these sort of spaces. That sort of contributes to and perpetuates these feelings of self-doubt that so many black folks and other people of color have.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, these seeds, that's what I was saying, SEEDS, these seeds of seeds. These seeds of self-doubt, if I'm hearing you correctly, can start pretty early in our lives, so that by the time we become accomplished in whatever arena, whatever field of human endeavor we are in, we may have been able to push through to get the degree, push through to achieve, push through to accomplish. But you're telling me, if I'm hearing you correctly, those seeds of self-doubt are already there, which leads me to ask, if they're already there, how did we push through in the first place, and why does the self-doubt come up when it does later in our careers? Does that make sense?
It makes sense, and that's one of the issues that we're trying to better understand. Like how do we sort of address those seeds, given that they go against everything that we have actually accomplished. I'll remind you, and you might already know this, that the Nobel laureate Maya Angelou often talks about feeling like a fraud. She made the statement that, she had written 11 books, but each time she thinks that people are going to find her out to be the imposter that she has internalized. And so if someone like Maya Angelou, who we know is one of our greatest intellectual gifts, if someone like her can still struggle with those feelings, then you know that people who aren't nearly as accomplished as her will also struggle with it. And so there's a paradox, right? So that even the more that we are accomplished, the more that we are successful, the more difficult it is to truly accept and to internalize that success. That's the core of these imposter feelings. And so part of what we're trying to better understand is, how do we address that? How do we deal with that? And part of my work looks at both the individual and the environment, because you can't just focus on, we can tell individuals where, you need to sort of focus on changing your beliefs. You got to, there are all these things that just sort of focus on the individual, but that's inadequate, because we know that you can do all this sort of, self-talk and changing your beliefs. You can do all of that you want to, but if you're still encountering an environment that's telling you you're not good enough, that you aren't competent enough, then that's not going to go very far. And so we really sort of emphasize that you have to address in the individual as well as what's happening in the institutional and environmental level.
Yep. I know you probably were talking. You made a powerful point. You probably fused two things together. But I got a really bright audience, and they'll call me on this. You mentioned Maya Angelou, the Nobel laureate. The Nobel laureate was Toni Morrison. Maya did not win the Nobel. That was Toni Morrison. Bad. Yeah, no. Maya was my godmother. She was award-winning on a lot of different fronts. But the Nobel was for Toni Morrison, and not for Maya. But I take your point. You're absolutely right about the fact that Maya did, in fact, talk often about this notion of feeling like an imposter, and you're right. If it can happen to Maya Angelou, it can happen to any of us. I guess the question is, what have your studies, what have your learnings taught you, or what are they teaching you about the antidote to this?
Well, so one of the things that we sort of talk about is, how do you address these imposter feelings? And if we focus on the individual level, mm-hmm. there are few things that we might do. So the first thing that we can do is, you can sort of make it a habit of documenting systematically when you have done well. Because part of what ends up happening with folks who have these imposter feelings is that we tend to dismiss or minimize the times that we have done very well, when we have been very accomplished. And so we tell people, look, you need to be systematic. Whenever you've done something that is something to be praiseworthy, that's something that you're proud of, then document it. And then you have to revisit that to remind yourself that, you know what, I've actually done pretty well, whether it's in a school environment, whether it's in a work environment, I've actually been doing pretty well, and I need to attend to that and give myself some credit for it. So that's one of the things that we tell people. Another thing is that people who have these imposter feelings, they oftentimes suffer in silence. If you find yourself in a very competitive, academic or workplace environment, we don't like to sort of show any vulnerability. We don't want to give people any sort of ammunition to sort of use against us. And so we will suffer in silence, not realizing that more often than not, we are not the only people who are suffering or feeling that way. And that, especially as Black folks. And so as Black folks, if we find ourselves sort of talking to other people, especially other Black folks or other people of color, we might find that they have felt the exact same way or are feeling the same way. Mm-hmm. And so you don't ever want to suffer in silence, because we know that, in fact, we know from research that upwards of the 80% of people in this country, and I would believe even more, have identified feeling this way. So don't suffer in silence. Talk about it so that you can see how other people are feeling and how they are dealing with. Mm-hmm. And then I would be remiss, as a psychologist, I would be remiss if I didn't say, sometimes it gets to the point where it really causes a disruption in our functioning. Mm-hmm. And when those imposter feelings cause a disruption in your functioning, you need to seek professional help. And we know that Black folks have had a complicated history with mental health, but increasingly we are becoming more and more open to seeking mental health, particularly with, being able to sort of seek mental health, not in person, but you can do it via phone, via Zoom. And so getting professional help when it gets to the point where it starts to disrupt your daily functioning.
Yep. I wonder to what extent, and the evidence on this may not be easy to come by, but I wonder to what extent these feelings of imposter phenomenon hold black people back before they get to the point of achieving. I mean, we've the frame that we've discussed this in so far is that black folk who have achieved oftentimes feel these notions of imposter phenomenon once they've achieved. I'm asking a different question. I wonder to what extent you think, and again, I don't know how the evidence would be gained here, or gleaned, but you are a psychologist and you talk to folk all the time and you research this. But I wonder to what extent people, black and otherwise, may be held back and not reach their full potential because they can't navigate themselves past these feelings of insecurity, these feelings of this imposter phenomenon. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and that's exactly what can happen, because when we're experiencing these feelings, that it can sometimes result in us not trying things, not going for things that we would otherwise be very, very qualified and competent and capable of doing. And so it can prevent us. So, I'm thinking, for example, in a school setting, a talented black student who might be feeling these imposter feelings, and they do not sort of pursue, for example, a STEM major, science, technology, engineering, math major, because they are having these imposter feelings, even though they've already demonstrated themselves to be very, very strong and capable students in those areas. Or in a professional setting, we might sort of be very hesitant to pursue certain types of positions because of those feelings, when we otherwise would be incredibly capable and qualified and very competitive for those individuals, for those positions. So what happens is that it prevents us from pursuing opportunities that we would otherwise be very competitive for. Now, there's a bit of an irony about these imposter feelings, because part of what we also understand is that for some people, the imposter feelings result in heightened achievement. In other words, when you feel like when you have the self-doubt about your abilities, you find yourself working even harder. If we think about sort of like John Henryism effect, we sort of work so hard to prove ourselves, and we might end up doing well and exceeding and excelling, but it comes at a cost. It comes at an emotional cost. It comes at a physical cost. So when you see all those health disparities involving black folks, I would tie those health disparities to the overachieving and trying to prove ourselves, but coming at those costs.
Yep. Here's my extra question. I wonder to what extent what I would term the normative white gaze impacts this notion of black imposter phenomenon. That is to say that we are so caught up in being seen and being acknowledged by the broader white normative gaze that we move in ways that cause us harm.
Well, I mean, that's an excellent point. I mean, being caught up in this normative white gaze and wanting to, always try to, appear to be a certain way, feeling like we always have to prove ourselves to white folks in particular. That is a very psychologically damaging sort of way to sort of exist in this world. And yet, unfortunately, too many of us find ourselves, sort of negotiating the world in that way. But you're absolutely right. This normative white gaze is something that presses upon many, many black folks. And what I would say is that, look, we don't need to impress white people, right? I mean, and I know it's easier said than done, but we don't need to impress white people.
Nope.
We need to impress ourselves.
I'll leave it there. I'm out of time. I hate that I'm out of time because I'm just getting warmed up here with you. His name is Dr. Kevin Coakley. Has written a powerful piece you can find online about the reconceptualization of imposter syndrome, what he calls imposter phenomenon, and the ways in which it needs to be redefined racially, and the impact it has on us and how we show up in the workplace and beyond. Dr. Coakley, good to have you on. Thanks for your research, sir. All the best to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
As promised, Wendell Pierce when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Unapologetically progressive. Unapologetically black. You're tapped into Tavis Smiley.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Former President Donald Trump's classified documents case is being dismissed. Judge Aileen Cannon made the ruling today that the appointment of special counsel Jack Smith violated the Constitution. Trump was accused by the feds of taking classified documents from the White House after he left office and illegally storing them at his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida. Former NFL receiver and kick returner Jacoby Jones is dead at the age of 40. The African-American former player reportedly passed away in his sleep yesterday. No cause of death was given. He was drafted by the Houston Texans in 2007. Afterwards, he would sign with the Baltimore Ravens, where he would become the first player to score both a receiving touchdown and a returning touchdown in a Super Bowl. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Me and the kids were always messaging. They LOL'd, I ROFL'd, but then I changed phone and the bubbles went green. But where there's a fill, there's a way. And I found a way to share what's in here. I'm tapping my heart.
WhatsApp, the place to safely send messages between different devices. Message privately with everyone.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The All-Star break comes at a good time for the Dodgers. They need to regroup. The Dodgers are 2-8 in their last 10 games. They lost at Detroit Sunday in the bottom of the ninth. The Dodgers still have a 7-game lead in the NL West over San Diego and Arizona. The Angels are taking a 3-game winning streak into the break. They took 2 or 3 from Seattle, the first-place team in the AL West. Bronny James said he's open to playing for the Lakers G League team during the regular season if it gives him more playing time and the chance to improve. In 3 Summer League games with the Lakers rookie team, LeBron's son is shooting only 23% from the floor and is 0 for 12 on 3-pointers. The G League assignment is a real possibility for Bronny if new coach J.J. Redick feels he's not ready for significant playing time in the regular season. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Race, culture wars, political turf battles, criminal justice and injustice, the courts. These are the conversations you won't hear elsewhere. My guests are leading journalists, celebrities, and sports figures, elected leaders, and influencers. They aren't afraid to get into it and say the quiet part out loud. With Ariva Martin in real time, your commute just became the most engaging part of your day. Tune in weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. or find us on YouTube. Ariva Martin in real time, when you want it straight, no chaser.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Don't miss up to 70% off select major appliances at the Lowe's Closeout event. But hurry, these deals are too good to last because Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 8/7 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Paid for by government. Did you hear? A secret hoard of 1904 $20 Gold Liberty coins have been found. These gorgeous 1904p gold coins are as bright and shiny as the day they were struck, and less than 500 of these gold coins are available. Coin experts are calling this secret U.S. Gold Coin Discovery a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and you can own a piece of the hoard. When you call, you are guaranteed a 1904 Gold Liberty struck at the iconic Philadelphia Mint. With limited availability, you must call now. These 1904 dated gold coins are still in uncirculated condition with brilliant luster. That is 120 years of history you can hold in your hand. To learn more, call 1-800-973-3083. Call now and you'll receive a free bonus, a $75 value free with every order. Call 1-800-973-3083 now to secure your 1904P $20 Gold Liberty coins before they sell out. That's 1-800-973-3083.
Sounds different, huh? This is Tavis Smiley.
This is Tavis Smiley in conversation with our friend and brother Wendell Pierce, who we all know and love as an activist and owner of the Black Talk Station in NOLA, WBOK, 1230 a.m. Always delighted to be in dialogue with him. I told you in the first hour he's going to be on today to talk about this notion of political violence in America. If Joe Biden has said it once, he said it more than once, and everybody's been uttering this line. You've heard it all weekend. Since the assassination attempt, there is no place in America for political violence. There's no place in America for political violence. Everybody's saying it. And every time I hear it, I want to throw up. Apparently, I ain't the only one. Let me read to you what my friend Wendell Pierce texted me over the weekend and why I wanted to invite him on this program. And I'll make way for him to do his thing. But let me just read you what he texted me. There is no place, Tavis, in America for political violence. This assassination attempt was a dark day for America. I condemn the attempt to murder the former president. America knows the pain of political violence when a Republican president was assassinated, when a Democratic president was assassinated. America knows the pain of political violence. We know the pain of that violence when thousands were murdered for attempting to register and vote for decades. America knows the pain of political violence, like the Colfax massacre in Louisiana, the Wilmington massacre in North Carolina, Goodman, Cheney, and Schwerner, black, white, Christian, and Jewish, murdered for registering voters. America knows the pain of political violence, like the women of the National Women's Party, arrested on their hunger strike, tortured and force-fed because they wanted the right to vote. America knows the pain of political violence, like the Greensboro Massacre of 1979, filmed for the whole world to see. Roosevelt, MLK, RFK, Malcolm X, Reagan. America knows the pain of political violence. Now that President Trump was a victim of political violence that we all abhor, let's hope he joins us and condemns the political violence of January 6th, another day in American history where others were attacked, beaten, and lost their lives in political violence. All Americans agree there is no room in our country for political violence. On that, we can all agree. Tavis, look forward to the historic, he says, Tavis, this is a historic reference for what I believe will be revisionist history that the GOP will start this week in Milwaukee. And when I read it, I just said amen. And I said, Wendell, let's discuss this on the radio program if you got 15 to 20 minutes tomorrow. And here now is my friend, Wendell Pierce. Wendell, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fine, Tavis. Actually, I'm enraged.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to take that back. I'm enraged. Today is the day that the propaganda begins. Today is also a demonstration of how Trump put into place the banana republic that he's going to use if he gets back in office. But I just wanted to – I saw people's response to the assassination attempt, and I realized that people were going to have revisionist history about this.
Oh, yeah.
It is right for the president. It's right for the president to tamp down any impulses of violence, retaliation, and all. So the actual line, I understand the impetus and why he says it, right? But I also wanted to make sure that people understood that there was a continuum and a constant, especially for people of color, of political violence having an adverse effect on us. That Colfax massacre is when black folks won political power in Reconstruction in Louisiana. A court upheld it, and then white folks came and raided the offices
the town, the capital of Colfax, and killed 150 black folks. Wilmington, North Carolina, is when black folks actually won again in Reconstruction the political power of the mayor's office and the council and everything in Wilmington, North Carolina. And then the insurrectionists just said, no, this is not it. Let's kill everybody and take the government back over. And they succeeded. No one was prosecuted in either case. This was something recent for me. I was thinking how for women it's the same thing. It was 1912. This is not some, far off history. 1912, women on a hunger strike outside of the White House, arrested, put into prison, and force-fed so they wouldn't die for their cause. That's torture. That's political violence. And then the last thing that I was spoke of in that text to you was the Greensboro massacre. We have that on film. You can go to YouTube right now. Anyone in the sound of my voice, go to YouTube and pull up Greensboro massacre, 1979, when groups got together to protest the Klan. Anti-Klan march through Greensboro. The Klan rolls up in their cars, get out on film, go to their trunks, pull out guns, and start to murder people in the march. And that is something that happened just 40 years ago, right? Needless to say, there are other incidents that we don't even know about. I think about all the people that I thought of when I stood on the Edmund Pettus Bridge as a part of the filming of Selma. I could just hear the souls at the bottom of that Alabama River who lost their lives at the hands of their neighbors, right? Because they dared to want to participate in the American system of democracy and vote, and lost their lives at the hands of their neighbors that the president spoke of last night. And I could hear them saying to me, don't forget me, Wendell. Tell our stories, Wendell. You don't know me, and don't let me be lost to history. There's blood on that ballot box. There is blood on that ballot box. It wasn't just shed on the beaches of Normandy. It was shed in the mud of Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, where I'm from. And how dare we forget that the people who are in this movement with Donald Trump are bringing back the America that they want, that shed that blood over the ballot box. So the empathy that we have for him, because this man was almost murdered yesterday or Saturday, don't let that be a fog that's placed over our eyes as they go into revisionist history the next 4 days with this propaganda of what they all want to put into place, which they have documented in Project 2025. And I'm not going to sit here, especially now, because I have empathy, because I don't want anyone to be murdered. I'm not going to let that empathy cloud my eyes and make me think the emperor is wearing clothes.
That's Wendell Pierce, activist extraordinaire, owner of WBOK, 1230 a.m. in New Orleans, a black talk station there. I'm honored to be heard on that station daily. And when we come forward now, I want to interrogate what Wendell has said. He's offered us something to think about, something to consider. There is indeed blood on that ballot box, but I am deeply, deeply, deeply troubled by what I expect will continue this week. It's already begun, so I say continue. And that is that the man who has called for political violence, supported political violence, aided and abetted political violence, excused political violence, now that he's been the subject of it, I'm troubled, as Wendell is, by the way they're going to try to flip the frame this week. I saw so many comments over the weekend, as did you, I'm sure. And the one that I saw that stuck out for me, I have to clean this up for radio, but it was a white woman who tweeted on her way to the Republican convention in Milwaukee. And these are her words: Donald Trump just took a bullet for America. If you're voting for anybody else, F you. And she typed the word out. Donald Trump just took a bullet for America. If you're voting for anybody else, F you. That's the frame we're in. We'll talk about that Wendell Pierce when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good.
Yeah, man.
Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
KBLA Talk 1580 is now celebrating 3 years of amplifying our voice and uplifting our community. We deeply appreciate your support of this radio station and will always do our level best to earn your support. Here's to many more years of loving and serving our community. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
I know it's gonna happen without you.
Febreze. As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust new Febreze car vent clips, now with 3 times greater scent control, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with new Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing, which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up, Oscar!
A violent crime is committed every 24 seconds. The U.S. Concealed Carry Association exists to provide you with firearms education, training, and access to self-defense liability insurance, so when trouble comes, you'll be ready. Over 800,000 Americans trust the USCCA, and right now, there's an exclusive, limited-time offer for radio listeners. Go to defendfamily.com to get a free family defense guide, a survival secrets training video from a retired FBI agent, and see all the benefits of membership. Go to defendfamily.com now.
Ready to re-examine your assumptions and expand your inventory of ideas? More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
Let me just mention right quick, I just literally just sent my producer down the street. Dr. Cornel West, who was mentioned earlier on today's program, is in LA today. Has an event, and I just sent my producer down the street to try to get him when he finishes to come down here and jump on the air with us for a few minutes. So I suspect that we may hear Cornel West on all the news of the weekend and the court dropping the case in Florida. We may get Cornel West on this mic in our next hour, so don't go anywhere if you want to hear what Dr. West has to say about what happened this weekend. Stick around. I'm hoping that we'll get him on the mic for a few minutes in studio since he's down the street in our next hour. But I'm pleased now to continue our conversation with our friend and brother Wendell Pierce. Wendell, watching my time getting away from me, how are you processing the fact that we can expect this week and beyond Donald Trump to sort of transform himself into some moral leader now that he survived this assassination attempt? This is the guy who has incited and excused political violence all along, but the notion of him turning himself into some sort of martyr, some sort of moral leader, just turns my stomach. What say you, though?
It turns my stomach as well. The thing that we have to be clear about and is everyone's saying that we have to come together, that we have to be unified. No, what we need to do is be
equitable and make sure that people, that's the focus. That's the thing that will unify us. If there's equality and equitability that's brought about by the laws that we put into place and the policies that we put into place, that is the thing that will unify us. They're speaking of some sort of emotional unity. We don't need to have emotional unity. We need to have policies and laws. Policies and laws will change people's behavior. Leave it to us, the artists, to change people's hearts and minds. Let us, as artists, try to unify the heart and the spirit. We're in the fight of our political lives. Let's not be distracted by the emotionalism of, we have to be unified. What unifies us is the equity, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness that is enshrined in the Constitution. If we're going to be a nation of laws, right, and if we're going to move towards a more perfect union, the unity that I want to see gets rid of the disparity between and the wealth gap between the poor and the rich, black and white. The unity that I want to see is the equitability and everyone having access to health care. The equity that I want to see is making sure that people have access to a good education and to be able to improve their lives, and having policies in place that gives everyone an opportunity to live their best life. That's the unity we're searching for. And don't be distracted by people who are trying to say, well, you're not being unifying. You are being divisive when you speak of that. No, I'm not being divisive. You may not agree. And because you don't agree doesn't mean we aren't unified. What says we aren't unified is the fact that we have disparity in law and policy that separates us. That's the unity that I want, and we cannot be distracted by the misuse, by this image change that Donald Trump is going to do this week. We need to prosecute the case of what he has done, what he is proposing to do, and keep the focus on that and say, hey, if you are against violence and we join you, say right now that you are against the violence of January 6th. Because you have said that you're going to pardon everyone. If you say there's equitability and that this is about the Constitution, then didn't you also say you're going to get rid of the Constitution?
And moreover, Wendell's on a roll. Moreover, if you know your history, and Wendell's done a good job of reminding us of many parts of our history that ought not be forgotten. America was founded on violence. So I know what Joe Biden means when he says, there's no place in America for political violence. America was founded on violence, if you know your history. Our remaining moments with Wendell Pierce when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA reminds you that when we fight, we win, and we don't black down. LA Community Action Network, or LA CAN, was formed in 1999 when 25 residents of downtown LA came together and acknowledged the problems that existed in their community and made a commitment to do something about those problems. to stand together, organize, and become a force in the community that demands change. Civil rights and preventing the criminalization of poverty are their core projects. In addition, they take on women's rights, the human right to housing, and healthy food access. LA Can also has projects focused on economic development, civic participation, voter engagement, and community media. While downtown LA remains their home base, with a particular emphasis on the Skid Row community, in 2007, they expanded their housing and healthy food access work into South Central Los Angeles. LA Can believes that power for low-income people and people of color is achieved through a large, active, and well-informed member base that utilizes a multitude of methods to advance their messages and goals. If you'd like to join the Los Angeles Community Action Network and organize people to fight back against oppression, please visit cangress.org. That's cangress.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Who do you trust to get at the truth? Tavis Smiley. That's who. The conversation continues right now.
We got 2.5 minutes left. I want to yield it all to Wendell Pierce. Wendell, what say you specifically to black people about how we navigate, how we fight our way through this particular dark and grim moment in American history?
First of all, remember your history. We unified together quietly in the North Church in Boston, waiting to hear about the Emancipation Proclamation. When evil people plot, we have planned. That's what the Civil Rights Movement was about. It was not just happenstance. It was thoughtful, strategic planning to use our courts and use the political system to put people in place to make sure that we get the policies and laws in place that we need. And in this moment, don't listen to the noise. Most of social media is coming from Moscow and Russia and Beijing in China, right? It is to deflect everything you hear about black men voting for Trump and all of this. And at the same time, it's going to be black folks and women that are going to save this nation in 100 days. And then when we do, we hold the party that we put in place, the Democrats, accountable and say, if it wasn't for us, you wouldn't be here. We have it within our power. We have it within our power. And there's going to be misinformation on the highest order these next 4 weeks. The large media companies have conspired to do this. For the last 2 weeks, they have done nothing but disparage the age and competence of Biden. Then it leads up to, then when the assassination attempt happens, then that is going to turn Donald Trump into a martyr. All of that is the okie doke, as they used to say in the streets. Make sure that you have it within your political power to put into place the policies that you want. Don't think of the candidates. Think of the policies. You know what that's fighting for. The obfuscation is going to come from all the noise trying to point out all the insecurities and ineptness of Biden and your local politicians. That is the marketing and the misinformation and the miseducation that the other side is very good at. Don't fall for the okie doke.
No, I hear you loud and clear, Wendell Pierce. You are echoing what I said earlier in today's program. The audience was listening then, they're listening now. And that is that time and time again, we black people who have learned to love this country in spite of, not because of, continue to rescue it, oftentimes to save it from itself. Wendell Pierce, I'm glad you texted me yesterday. I'm glad you got me thinking about this revisionist history we're going to get all week. I'm glad you reminded me and the audience of what we need to be aware of over the next 4 days, and for that matter, between now and November, to keep our eyes on the prize. Wendell Pierce, I love you. Nothing you can do about it, my friend. All the best to you.
All the best to you, too.
Stay strong. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward. I think we tracked down Dr. West. We'll get him on next hour with a couple other guests. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Former President Donald Trump's classified documents case is being dismissed. Judge Aileen Cannon made the ruling today that the appointment of special counsel Jack Smith violated the Constitution. Trump was accused by the feds of taking classified documents from the White House after he left office and illegally. Yesterday, no cause of death was given. He was drafted by the Houston Texans in 2000.